Welcome to the Stoic Responder Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Healy. As a special agent who spent more than 15 years conducting large-scale fraud, money laundering, and public corruption investigations, Stoic philosophy provided a mindset edge that became the foundation of my professional success. My mission today is to share those same ancient mindset lessons with you so that you can turn obstacles into opportunities and adversity into advantage. Time to muster up.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Stoic Responder Podcast. This is episode 105, The Strands of Fate. It's going to be a quick one before I jump into the meat of the episode. Again, let me remind you, if you haven't done so already, please go over to thestoicresponder.substack.com. Sign up for free. All it takes is your email address. You give me your email address, I give you 4 podcasts a week delivered directly into your email inbox, so you'll never miss an episode. The reason I want you to sign up over there is because at the end of the year, I'm going to be making some changes to where the Substack or where the podcast is hosted. We're going to be moving it off of Libsyn and directly into Substack during that 2-week break that I'm going to take at the end of the year. I'm going to make some administrative changes and do that. That's going to allow me to have a little bit more control over the audience. It's a very niche podcast with a niche audience, and broadcasting it out on different platforms, different social media platforms doesn't make the most sense. So we want to have as many folks as possible over on that Substack as possible so that you're getting this message directly into your inbox 4 times a week. I won't spam you. I won't try to sell you anything. I won't try to get you to buy anything. Well, I would love for you to buy my book, but I'm not going to sell you my book over there. So long story short, I'm just trying to move everything over into a single location where it makes the most sense to host it. And Substack, after looking at all the other options, is the best place for me to host my writing and my podcast all in one place. So I have to do a lot less work to produce this on a weekly basis. So go over there, sign up, and make sure you don't miss any episodes when I make that transition. Number 2, this is the last episode before Thanksgiving break. I'm going to take 2 weeks off. Just go to Florida. Going to go ride some roller coasters. Going to hang out with my friends and family. Going to have a great Thanksgiving. I hope that you will too. I'll see you again at the first week of December when I'm back in the studio. And finally, the last thing I'll leave you with, and if you want all the deep dive on this, go back to Monday's episode. But the last thing I'll leave you with is going to be doing away with the video component of this podcast. Not going to be producing a corresponding YouTube video or corresponding YouTube shorts or Instagram shorts or any of that stuff, because it's just not where the audience is. And I don't really intend to waste my time. That's one of the lessons that the Stoics really lay on pretty thick. It's not that we don't have enough time, it's that we waste so much of it. And so in an effort to be more stoic in how I present this podcast, I have looked at all of the social media metrics over the last 5 months. I've looked at all of the downloads. I've looked at all the interactions. I've looked at where the audience is coming from, where the audience is consuming it. And what I have learned is that my audience doesn't really care about a video component, whether it is in short 30-second bursts on Instagram or YouTube, or in a full 10 to 15-minute podcast on YouTube. Most people are consuming this via audio, and so that's where I'm going to put my focus, and I'm not going to waste the time producing a video or video shorts or YouTube or whatever. We're done with all of that. We're focusing on just getting the message out via audio. You can still listen to the audio podcast on YouTube. It's a great hosting platform for that. I'm just not going to be putting video out anymore. So that's what I got for you. Moving on with the lesson, the Strands of Fate. You can call it God's will, call it providence. And I'm interested in this because there's a controversy right now about the new Secretary of Defense nominee, Pete Hegseth, having a tattoo on his arm that's a Latin phrase. It's a Catholic phrase. I think it's Deus Vult, but it means if God wills it, or God wills it. And yeah, I don't know why there's controversy around this. I guess there's controversy because people who write for newspapers or work for CNN are probably not particularly religious. They're certainly not devout Catholics. They don't understand, Catholicism. I wouldn't say that I'm, super into Catholicism. I was baptized Catholic. I was raised Catholic for a percentage of my life. I haven't been to a Catholic church in probably 25 years. I, as an adult, have gone to Baptist church. I've gone in a different route from a faith-based perspective, but there's apparently some controversy around this. If God wills it, because it's a term that goes back to the Crusades, and it's essentially saying like I'm driven by God. God wills us to retake Jerusalem, et cetera, et cetera. And so they're trying to turn this into a thing about like, oh, it's, he's a Christian nationalist, whatever. it's nonsense. It's just the media doing what the media does. But I was interested in that, and I said, you know what, there's some interesting, I guess, synergy is the wrong word. I guess there's some overlap between the Christian perspective of things, the Catholic perspective of things, and the Roman perspective of things. And a lot of the Stoic philosophy that we're studying existed at the same time as the early Christian church. So it's not surprising that there's this overlap. So I figured I'd dive into kind of the secular side of this coin today. So let me start you out with a quote. Whatever happens to you has been waiting to happen since the beginning of time. The twining strands of fate wove both of them together. That's from Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. So again, title of the episode, The Strands of Fate. So you can call it God's will, right? You can call it providence. You can call it destiny. You can call it predestination. You can call it whatever you want, but whatever you call it, remember this, it is the natural and rational of order of things beyond your control. Similar to if God wills it, God wills it. The tattoo on Pete Hegseth's arm is saying the same thing that Marcus Aurelius is saying here, right? Marcus was writing in Greek, I believe. The Romans spoke Latin, and Deus Vult is in Latin, but and Marcus spoke Latin as well. But it's the same thing. It's this idea that we are just but visitors. We are just on this path, and very little of what happens to us is of our own will. And therefore, we must focus on that which is within our own control and leave the rest to fate. Because I don't control the weather. I don't control what happens. I don't control if there's going to be a terrorist attack tomorrow. I don't control if there's going to be a massive car accident that delays me in getting to my destination. I don't control any of these things, right? That's all providence. It's all destiny. It's all fate. It's all predestination. It's God's will. There's an interconnectedness to all events, right? And every occurrence is linked to a greater tapestry of existence. And I can go back to my own experience. I had no intention of becoming a law enforcement officer. I didn't will terrorists attacking the World Trade Center as a means to create a federal government department that I would then someday join. It happened, right? I intended to be an archaeologist. I intended to pursue that path. And God's will intervened in my life. Fate intervened in my life, and I changed directions. I responded to the external event. I had internal control over how I responded to those things, and I chose a different path because of what had happened. But I didn't control the external. That was fate. In the same way, I didn't control the external when a thing occurred in our family lives that caused me to leave my law enforcement career. My father-in-law got sick, when cancer reemerged, when all of a sudden we had this perfect storm in our personal lives that required me to step away from my career. That was the choice that I made in response to the external, to what fate dealt me, to the hand that I was dealt. You're dealing with all these things too, right? There are things that happen in your life that are beyond your control, that are God's will. But it is your will how you respond to it. That tapestry of existence, whether favorable or challenging, it's all an integral part of the universal design. And every experience, every twist, every turn in our lives has its place in this grand scheme of things, right? We are just like a boat on the sea, bobbing along, keeping above the water. What we control is how we respond to the motion of the ocean. By acknowledging that events are shaped by fate and accepting events as they unfold, as the Stoics teach us to do, as the Christian tradition teaches us to do as well, we can approach life's challenges and joys with greater acceptance and resilience, right? It is when we are constantly trying to buck against fate, when we are constantly trying to push back against fate, when we're constantly trying to control the external, that we lose so much control. This is a powerful realization. And when we surrender to it, we're better able to find serenity amidst all of life's uncertainties. That's what that means. Deus Vult, if God wills it. That's what Marcus is saying here. Whatever happens to you, it's been waiting to happen since the beginning of time. There's nothing you can do about what is going to happen to you. That is all external to you. You can only do what you can do to respond to it. Everything else is beyond your control. So check your attitude. Make that powerful realization. Surrender to what fate provides you and make the most of it. That's really the lesson of a James Stockdale. That's the lesson of an Epictetus. That's the lesson of a Marcus Aurelius. That's the lesson of a Viktor Frankl. None of those people wanted to find themselves in the situations they found themselves in. but they always had the power to respond to God's will. They always had control over their attitude. They always had control over how they dealt with the circumstances placed in front of them. I think it's a powerful lesson. I'm not getting that. We talked about tattoos a lot this week. We talked about getting stuff tattooed on us. I'm not getting that. I think I've got enough Latin on me already. But I like that tattoo. I like the idea of it. It's a great reminder. If it's God's will, but I don't control everything. Remember what you do control. Your actions, your reactions, your attitude, your effort, things that are within your control are internal to you. And that's a powerful realization. And that's what I'll leave you with for Thanksgiving break. Get out there, spend some time with your friends and family, put down the phone, be present. Don't worry about, I've heard some people, saying, this is, the election, we shouldn't, you shouldn't be having, sharing holidays with people who voted differently than you. Man, I got friends and family who voted for all sorts of different things. And you know what? I still love them. I don't care. I care about them. Life's too goddamn short for us to be sitting here and bitching about like, oh, you voted for her or you voted for him. Come on, man. Go out there, spend some time with the people that you care about, people that you love. Take some time to recognize and understand that you may not have them here next year. And that's something that we're now a couple of years removed from losing my father-in-law, but it doesn't get easier to spend the holidays without someone that you care deeply about. So, put that at the forefront of your mind instead of your differences. Put at the forefront of your mind how brief and inconsequential all of this can seem. So love deeply, share goodwill with those people around you, because you do control that. You don't control what happens down the road. You don't control God's will. You don't control providence or destiny or fate or predestination. You don't control who gets sick. You don't control who you lose. But you do control how you act. So act well. Be a decent human being. Stop arguing about what it is to be a good man, as Marcus Aurelius would say, and be one. All right, let me leave you with a journal prompt and send you on your way. Have I surrendered that I cannot control to fate, or am I attempting to bend the world to my will? Be honest with yourself about that. Are you focusing on what you can control, or are you trying to bend the world to your will? All right, get out there, enjoy your turkey or your ham or your brisket or whatever it is that you're going to have with your family. And I will see you in December. Until then, you are out of roll.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, like, rate, and share this podcast so that we can spread the benefits of Stoicism to other first responders. It will only take you a few moments, but it can help us tremendously. Until next time, out of roll.